if you are challenging yourself, period, because you want to grow, you will be challenged in your confidence as well. And when you are, then what are the resources? What can I do? And I think part of it is to create a community.
For me, if there's one thing that it makes or breaks a collaboration is whether or not you're inspired by the people you're collaborating with.
Yes.
We get to begin again in every moment. It's not just every morning we get to begin again.
Right.
But literally, I'm going to take a breath and begin again.
This is In the Balance.
We are not condemned when we are born into a family that is dysfunctional. One of the things I think the wilderness does for us, and certainly just life itself, is to get some perspective, which is why a risk is a really good thing, because you get out of your comfort zone. And you can feel coming up within you that desire to heal and that search for whatever it is the best journey for you to take. That is resilience within us. And we can continue to trust that it will lead us to our healing.
Hi, everybody. It's Susan Lambert, and I'm about to give you the gift, because I feel it's really a gift, of a listen in on a wonderful conversation I had a few weeks ago with Irene O'Garden, who's an award-winning playwright, author, poet, and a wonderful performer, who just wrote a memoir recently called Risking the Rapids. Beautifully written. It's about risk, about trauma, about growing up, about creativity, about the power of finding our identity. It's a book that's chock full of wisdom, insight, great storytelling, and open-hearted giving in the art of memoir. It was really interesting for me to read this book and also to talk with Irene at this point in my life when, I'm in midlife, and a year ago, May, I got married again. And, this was a risk. It was a risk of the heart. It was a risk at a time of life when some people think you've kind of done it all, or you're settled in, maybe, or whatever your thoughts are about what you're going to do the last 20, 25, 30 years of your life, right? And I was thinking about how vivid that experience came up inside me when I was reading Irene's book. She does a beautiful blend of going back and forth from the present in a very interesting adventure she has with her siblings in adulthood that had a dangerous twist, back to her childhood where there was a good deal of struggle and some trauma for her growing up. And she writes going back and forth in her child voice and her adult voice, and it is such a gorgeous organic blend. It pulled me right into a renewed consciousness of how much I hear child Susan in me, as well as adult Susan in me. And especially when I embarked on that risk of marriage in midlife, and realizing, wow, I've got one whopping big bag of everything that I'm bringing to this long-term relationship. And I'm for sure making a commitment that has in its not so distant future, I'm going to be with you till I die. I'm going to take care of you when you age. There's a kind of vulnerability in that that's unique to me anyway, in my life. And there's a kind of vulnerability about saying, I see you, I hear you, I witness you, and we're going to sit down in the meadow across the street from where I'm speaking to you guys right now and sit in that meadow together and unpack it all and go a step at a time into a beautiful sunset together, into a beautiful blue sky, into a rainy day, with all that wisdom gathering and insight gathering behind us, and still with the awareness that the child inside us is right there with us. And Irene O'Garden's book just brought that to me It brought tears to my eyes, I'm telling you, for most of the book. I identified with her every step of the way. Was my childhood experience exactly like hers? No. Have I had the kind of risk-taking, quote-unquote, experience in adult life that she describes in her book? Nope, I have not. But she embraces the notion that there's healing power in taking risks. Wow, right? I believe her. And so please listen in to my conversation with poet, author, playwright Irene O'Garden. Hi, everybody. This is Susan Lambert, and I'm on In the Balance. And I have the great pleasure to be speaking with Irene O'Garden. Irene, thank you so much for having this conversation with me today.
Oh, it is absolutely my pleasure, Susan. I admire what you do so much and the kinds of conversations that you have, and I'm just tickled to be able to talk with you.
Oh, thank you so much. You've written a memoir called Risking the Rapids about an experience that you've had recently in your life. How long ago was that exactly?
That actually was about, it's now 5 years ago. So
right.
It was just yesterday.
Yeah. And that memoir, which we're going to get to, comes out of, I believe that your memoir, well, tell us about what that memoir means to you. What did it mean to you to have that experience and to write that memoir?
Well, so here's what it is for people who don't know about it. It's a double narrative. It talks about my childhood in a repressed Midwest household with a celebrity dad and an icy mom and rivers of martinis and 6 other siblings and lots of those kind of challenges. But it's braided with the narrative of a wilderness journey that I took with a couple of my siblings and some of their kids to Montana's Bob Marshall Wilderness, which is the most remote area of the lower 48 states. And my experience of the wilderness at the age of 62 was I had a couple of Girl Scout overnights, and it was supposed to be a float trip, and my floating experience was just an inner tube on the Delaware River on a Sunday afternoon. So I'm not the person who goes, oh, I've got to skydive, I got to rock climb. I feel like I want my life to pass before me just that one time when it's supposed to, at the end.
Yeah.
But it was important to me to take this journey because it came up when an older brother of mine died unexpectedly. And this was a troublesome older brother. But at the memorial service, my younger brother, who goes out into the wilderness every year, said to me and my younger sister, let's go back into the backcountry together this year. Mm-hmm. And I thought, time's ticking. My younger brother was 60 at the time. I was 62. My younger sister was 57. And, at a memorial service, you not only remember the dearly departed, but you also remember that ticking clock. So that's kind of what propelled us to take that journey together. And it was a beautiful experience, and yet a very harrowing one, because it was much more challenging than anyone was expecting the trip to be, including the extremely experienced wilderness people.
Right. So the rapids
yes,
took you on a ride that you weren't expecting.
They certainly did.